Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to take a look at Turner Design Gouache. These are paints that are made by the Japanese company Turner, and they are the traditional gouache, like the opaque watercolor, not the acryl gouache, which is an acrylic paint that's matte. I have tried the Turner acryl gouache before, and I did like it quite a bit, so I'm hoping that I like the design or traditional gouache just as much. I started to prepare my swatch sheet, then I realized, oh, I think I'll film this because people will probably be interested in how it comes out of the tube, if there's binder separation, all of that. So I did just squeeze out a little bit of that violet color. I'm just gonna make sure my brush is nice and dry, and I am going to just pull it down and see how it goes straight out of the tube. It's a little too thick to spread straight out of the tube. So I'm going to add just a little touch of water. Oh, and that spreads out quite nicely. Now if I'm painting with it, I'm going to have it out on a palette, and I will do a painting with these and report back to you in this video so that you'll be able to see how it actually, well, my experiences are actually working with it. But I figured I would do the swatch here on video because people seem to like it. That was Brilliant Violet, and the pigment number is, let's see, is there pigment information? Well, let's see, it's got a Japan address here, made in Japan, 25 mLs. The Superfine Turner color for professionals. And, ooh, I don't see pigment information here, so I guess I'm going to have to look that up and see if it's available. This next color is Rose Violet. Again, I'm not seeing pigment information, so I may need to use like a Google Translate. Now, I bought this off Amazon. I know Jerry's Artarama also sells it. I'm going to put the squirt right there on the black line. I know Jerry's Artarama sells it. It was much cheaper on Amazon. I think Jerry's had it for about $80, and on Amazon, oh, now that spreads out pretty well, but my brush did have a little dampness on it. But I bought this for $36 last fall, and I just checked today, it's $44, and that's reflecting a 20% discount, it says. So the regular price on Amazon is $55.99, and this was an import from Amazon Japan, so maybe I'd be able to find the pigment information on Jerry's Artarama site. So that blended out really nicely. This one does appear to be kind of transparent. I think actually, oh, isn't that, it's pretty watered down actually. Anyway, next color is Permanent Red. Oh, actually, no, this one has pigment information right there. It says PR170 and PR122. Oh, this one says PR122, so that's magenta pigment. This one, oh, this one just says fluorescent pigment. So I bet that's a PV3 and then a BV10. So they don't even say. So I would consider that one not lightfast. Okay, Permanent Red. Let's give that a little squirt right here. I'm glad there's been no binder separation because this has been sitting on my shelf for months, and I've been meaning to get to it, but I don't know, for whatever reason, I just haven't. Oh, that one's spreading out pretty good. So the purple was the only one that kind of didn't spread out very well right off the bat. When these dry, we'll be able to see how opaque or translucent they are. Add a little bit of water into there just to see. I'm pretty happy with the way they're spreading out. I'm going to do a painting today actually on some tanned paper. Permanent Scarlet. This is PR9, Naphthol AS-OL, and PR170, so this one's probably not going to be the most light fast color, although they call it permanent. Whoops, oh, got a little too much on there, but still no binder separation yet. I'm very happy about this. So did I say, I'm not sure if I mentioned it or not, this was this came from Amazon Japan. I find that actually I've ordered quite a few things on Amazon in the United States, but it's been shipped from Amazon Japan, or that's the seller and shipper. Was it shipped and sold by? And I've been very pleased with anything I've purchased, so yeah, that one's nice and opaque. So it looks like this will be good for doing light layer, to do your first light layers with like watering it down and then building up. So very buildable, it looks like, hopefully, I'm hoping. Permanent Orange, PO34, and PY170. So I'm seeing a lot of mixed pigments here. That one was not a mixed pigment, though. Oh, okay, here we go. There's some binder separation, minimal right there. These are plastic tubes, which is not something you see in professional paint too often. Usually they're in metal tubes. Yeah, that's got a little binder separation there. I'm not going to thin that one out more because it's already pretty thin. Our next color is Yellow Ochre, PY42 and PY170. Huh. That last color had PY170 in it. And then the previous color had PR170. I'm wondering if that's a typo or if that's accurate. Anyway, let's see. Yellow Ochre is also one that I sometimes see binder separation with in gouache. That looks alright. So I don't know if the grade is the same on the Turner Design gouache that's sold by Jerry's Artorama, because Turner does seem to be one of their exclusive brands, and they usually have pretty good prices on it. That spreads out pretty good for a yellow ochre. Looks nice and opaque. Let's add a little bit of water to it and see. Yeah, I like the way that spreads out. I'm hoping it's not going to be shiny or anything weird. Apologize for any noises. The next color we have here is Permanent Yellow Deep, PY55 Diarylide Yellow. Now there are stars on it to indicate light fastness, but oh, we got some binder separation there. But I'll have to look up the key and what stars mean what, and what the scale is. I want to blot my brush way off because with the binder separation it's probably going to be a little bit thin. Oh, spreads really nice though. That's a happy color. Look at my rinse water. That's a cheerful color. The next color is Permanent Lemon, which is PY3, PY174, and PW6. So this one has a little white in it. So this one might be a little bit more opaque. That looks good. I think with these plastic tubes too, you could probably give them a good shake before you squeeze them, and then before you put them back, you could make sure you squeeze all the air out before you cap them. I'm surprised that's not more opaque. That one does have a little bit of drag in it. And then the last color on this top row, it looks like a May green. It's called Permanent Green Light, PG7 and PY3. I'll get a little bit of binder separation on that one too. Hopefully, as I go to put these on a palette and I paint with them, they will behave well. I won't put too much out because some gouache rewets really well and some doesn't. Oh, that's nice and opaque though. Alright, so far I'm seeing the colors are very saturated and bright, but they're not all super opaque. I do like opacity in gouache, but I will say there are some gouache that I've used that was not totally opaque that I actually ended up really enjoying in use, even though in swatching I didn't think they were going to light my fire, so to speak. So this next color is Permanent Green Medium. This is PB15 and PY3. Oh, that's strange that they didn't use a single pigment like PG36 or PG7. That's strange, but let's see. Spreads out nicely. Let's add a little bit of water. Thins down nicely. Looks good. Next color is Viridian Hue, which is PB15 and PY3 again. Huh, I don't know why they didn't do PG7, because they obviously have access to it, because that was in that permanent green light, but let's take a look here. Alright, no binder separation, that's good. I hope this is entertaining. I don't like to have the brush bone dry. I like to have a little bit of dampness on there. That one's feeling a little bit more transparent than I would like a gouache to be, but yeah, maybe I didn't put enough down. These are very crayon box colors, which I don't mind, honestly. Add a little water. Next color is turquoise, PB17, PY3, and PW6. PB17, also known as peacock blue. It's a phthalo blue, but it's less light fast than the PB15 that we usually see for phthalo blue. Oh, no binder separation there though. That looks good. A lot of these are 2-star light fast. I guess I'll be able to look and see what the earth tones are for light fastness and then figure out probably what the scale is. Ooh, that's nice and creamy and opaque. Drags down really nice. That, probably the addition of white helps with that too. Very nice, add a little bit of white, add a little bit of water. I think these actually might work with my style pretty well, where I like to start kind of watery and then build up opacity. This next color is Sky Blue, PG17 on its own. That looks good, no binder separation. So these tubes are a little bit larger. 18 colors, 25 mLs for $44. That seems like a pretty good deal if these are good paints. Now this one is definitely more transparent. I think, was my brush a little, maybe my brush was a little bit wetter too, but this doesn't have white in it like the previous color did. I bet that will mix well. I'm not getting any weird gummy feeling from these paints. Sometimes you'll get a gouache, especially a low quality gouache, and it will feel kind of gummy and gross. This looks like chocolate. Let's see, next we have Cobalt Blue, and this is PB29 and PB15, so they're using a mixture of ultramarine blue and phthalo blue. I'm surprised there's no white in it. Ooh, got a little binder separation though. I think I'd probably rather just have an ultramarine blue. That one's very transparent, seemingly anyway, as it's wet. I don't see I don't see fillers or chalkiness in it, which is good. Next color is Prussian Blue. Now this one is a 3-star rating. This is PB27, PB29, and PBK7. So 2 blues and a black. The traditional Prussian Blue plus ultramarine plus black. I don't know if it's more common to have, because I'm not that familiar with, well, I'm not as familiar with gouache as I am with watercolor, especially pigment-wise. So I don't know if it's more common to have mixed pigments with your gouache because it's meant to be a more, you know, heavy color coverage and more opaque, so maybe that's more normalized or more normal. When I did buy gouache open stock, I specifically look, ooh, that's pretty though. I specifically look for single pigment colors. There's a little bit of an odor. So it's probably the dextrin or whatever they're using in the binder, aside from gum arabic. But I definitely smell that Asian watercolor smell to it. It's not as strong as like the, what was it? It's not as strong as, what was it, the Master's Touch watercolor had that smell in their cakes, and Camelin, the Cocoa Camelin watercolors had that smell when they were wet, but not from a dried pan. It was very strange. This is Burnt Sienna PBR7, and actually I didn't notice it till I got down to these blues. PR 101 and PBR 25. Oh, that's an interesting combination. That's probably going to be very reddish. Oh, no binder separation. I think it might have been that Prussian blue that had that weird smell. Maybe it's one of the pigments. Let me just, because I didn't notice it until... Oh yeah, the Prussian blue. Does the cobalt have that? Maybe a little bit. But I don't think the other colors, maybe I'm just, now it's hitting me because, yeah, it seems to be those two blues have a little bit of an odor to them. Make sure my brush is clean, dry it off. This will probably have a little drag to it. Oh, actually it's spreading out pretty well. I would add just a little bit of water. Which I always have a little bit of a damp brush anyway when I'm going in with gouache. To help it glide. Add a little bit more water. Yeah, I think these are gonna work nice for the underlaying watercolor techniques as well as the gouache technique. So now I have jet black, which is, I've never seen this pigment before. PBK1 aniline black. It's 3-star light fastness, whatever that means. What was yellow ochre? Yellow ochre is 3-star, so I guess 3-star must be a good one. Aniline black, I've never heard of that before, so I have no idea what this is. I'll have to look that up. Alright, we got some binder separation there, some binder bubbling out. Before I swatch that one out, I'm going to get the white out. The white is Titanium White, PW6. I like a titanium white because it's so opaque, especially when you get some colors that are more translucent. There is a little binder separation. Not too bad, like kind of a bubble of binder came out. I'm going to do that one first before my brush gets all covered. And I don't have an odor with that color. Seem to be those blues. That's weird. And why are they using PBK1 when they had like PBK7? This is nice and smooth without adding water to it. Okay, I like that. Hopefully it doesn't dry shiny. So far, it seems like the ones that have dried matte. Any shine I'm seeing are still in wet passages. Let's do that black. Ooh, goodness. Yep, that binder. Hopefully that's it for the separating. Sometimes it's just on your first squeeze. But it is a nice, opaque, dark, almost cool-toned black. I'm tempted just to kind of do a little bit of a blend right there. Ooh, isn't that pretty? Well, there are the colors all swatched out of the Turner gouache. I think what I want to do is just start painting with them. I'm back, obviously. So just look back at my order, and I paid $37 for this set, and it was sold by Jerry's Artorama, although I bought it on Amazon. If you go to Jerry's Artorama itself, the current sale price of this is like $78. I got it on my screen here. They have it going for $76.89 on sale. Their regular price is $133.09, and then they say the list price is $265. So, I mean, I always take the list prices at Jerry's Artorama, especially on their kind of exclusive brands with a grain of salt, I should say. But now if you go to Amazon, this is going to show as a Japan import, and it's going to ship to you from Japan. So just to kind of give you the heads up there. And it's $44 currently on Amazon, and it's, like I said, $76.89. But the thing that's nice about these is these are all available open stock. There's somewhere around like 55 colors in the 25 ml tubes that are available open stock. There are 10 colors that are in 40 ml jars that are available open stock, and they have like kind of a trial set over if you buy it at Jerry's, and they might have it on Amazon too. I'll have to double check. That's a set of 11 ml tubes, which would be half this, a little bit less than half the size, and there's 12 colors for like $17. So that'd be a really nice way to try it out, to see if you liked it before you invested. I was looking at the light fastness on these gouache paints. Now these are design gouache versus artist gouache. That can be kind of interchangeable, but design gouache doesn't have the added requirement of being more light fast. Whereas if you were buying an artist gouache, then they're probably more likely to be thinking of, you know, these paintings being hung on the wall, whereas design gouache is more geared towards designers, where the work is going to be reproduced, like for book covers or for spot illustrations or posters, things like that. So what I would recommend is that if you are really interested in having highly light fast colors, is I would look at the open stock options. So these tubes are $6.59 to $7.49 at Jerry's, just depending on how expensive the pigments are that made them. And if we can look at the light fastest ratings on these. So, you know, because sometimes if you can get a set for a good price, like $44 for 18 colors, you may be willing to have a couple that aren't light fast that you just pull from the set and maybe just use in your sketchbook. But, you know, you got to kind of weigh that. How many of these colors would be ones that you would buy open stock, and then just see what's the more economical option for you. Because, and you might just not want the extra paint kicking around, but if it's going to be the same price for you to get the colors you want, and they're already in this set, then you can fool around with the other colors in your sketchbook or give them away, or whatever you want to do. So if we look at this first one, this is a fluorescent pigment. It says it right there, and they don't put a light fastness rating on it. So this is kind of like a, do you feel like gambling, you know, color, or using your sketchbook, or for, I don't know how good that would be for reproduction, just because I don't know if fluorescence would really reproduce very well. Now this rose violet, this is a light fastness rating of 1, and it's using a fluorescent pigment and PR122, so this is probably going to kind of darken out to a magenta color. Right now it's very, very vibrant. I do find the light fastest ratings to be accurate on these, going by what pigments are in there. This is a PR170 and a PR122 combination, which is a naphthol red and a magenta, quinacridone magenta, and they are giving it a light fastness rating of 2, which that sounds fine to me. Honestly, then it's probably going to fade out a little pinker because the naphthol red's a little bit warmer. This permanent scarlet is PR170 against that naphthol crimson, and they're giving it a 2 rating, just like the one that contained that pigment there. And these are made in Japan, if you're curious. This one, PY170, PO34. I think that might be a typo. I'm thinking that might be PO34 and PR170, because otherwise I don't think it would be so reddish, you know. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. And then the yellow ochre, this is kind of strange because it's PY42 plus PY170 and PG7. And I gotta look up PY170 because that was in a couple different things. Actually, you know, I think it is a pigment. Just as PR170 and so many things, you kind of wonder, is it, did they do a typo? Did they do a typo? PY170 is pigment yellow, diarylide yellow. Actually, yep, it's got in gouache, it has a light fastness rating of ASTM2, blue wool scale 7 to 8. Okay, so it's got that yellow, and it's also got, it says it has a green in it, which is strange because I didn't think it had any sort of green cast to it. But they're giving it a light fastness rating of 3. All those pigments look good, so that would make sense. I'm still... PO34. I have to look up PO34. It is a pyrrolizone orange. Oh, I guess I shouldn't assume that they made a... This isn't Paul Rubens after all. I shouldn't assume that they had a mistake in the notations. Permanent yellow deep, PY55 diarylide yellow, and that's got a light fastness of 2. And the way that their ratings go, 3 is the best and 1 is the worst. or I guess no rating would be the worst. This is permanent yellow PY3, which is Hansa yellow PY74 PW6. And that's got a 3. Permanent green light is PG7 and PY3, and that also has a 3. There's some varying opinions over whether PY3 is a light fast color or not. It had been, and then Golden did some tests recently, and they're downgrading their assessment of PY3, so there's a little bit of controversy there. I've used PY3 forever in watercolor, and I have not had any fading issues, but you know, you've got to decide for yourself. If you're living in Arizona and hanging your work on the wall in the desert sun, your results will vary, because I'm in the gloomy, shady state of Maine. This is PB15 and PY3. Now this are giving a rating of 2, and I noticed the other paints where they used PB15, they're giving their paints a rating of 2, which Phthalo Blue and Phthalo Green are really good light fast colors. This one though, with the same 2 pigments, they're giving a rating of 3, so I'm not exactly sure why, unless that permanent green mid has some other filler in it that's extending out the particles a little bit more to make it lighter, but it's not a light color, it's a nice rich color. This is the color here, I'll show you on my palette. That's that color right there. And so it's a really rich color. It doesn't seem like it would be diluted that much, because that can also affect the light fastness of a color, is how much extender, filler, binders in there that spreads out those molecules. Just like the more you water down a pigment, the less light fast it's going to be. Turquoise PB17, that's like a peacock blue. That one can be less light fast than a PB15, usually is less light fast. And they got PY3 and PW6, and that's got a 2-star rating, so that seems right. And if you're adding white to a pigment, that's also going to spread out those color molecules and make them a little less light fast. Just like mixing white with a color. So, I mean, there's so many variables when you're like titanium white, light fast color, but you mix it with another color and you spread out those molecules, you're going to make those other molecules less resilient and more likely to fade, because you've spread that color out, just like if you added water. Sky Blue PB17, it's a light fastness rating of 2. So, and they call PB17 Phthalocyanan Lake, which is a phthalo blue. So maybe it's a laked pigment, maybe it's natural versus synthetic. I'm not sure. I would think they would both be synthetic, but anyway. Cobalt Blue hue, they're using a mix of PB29, which is ultramarine, and PB15, which is phthalo blue, and they only give it a rating of 2, which is quite interesting. Maybe because of white. There's no white added that is disclosed, but there could be like a filler or something. But that's a color. It is lighter than an ultramarine. I would have just as soon had an ultramarine, honestly, but that color is really good for mixing. I mixed a black with the burnt sienna and the that cobalt blue, and it worked just fine. So I have no qualms, really. Prussian Blue, this is a mix of PB27, which is your Prussian Blue pigment, PB29, which is ultramarine, and PBK7, and they're giving it a light fastness rating of 3. And it could be that they use those other 2 pigments to make it a little bit more opaque, a little bit more matte. We'll look at the swatches again in a second, as well as my finished artwork. Then we've got Burnt Sienna, which is a funny mix of PBR7, PR101. So PBR7 is a, you know, that's the Burnt Sienna I really like. Then they have a PR101, which is like your Venetian red. It's a more red color. Then they have PBR25, which is benzimidazolone or benzimidine brown, which is a reddish transparent brown. This is what it looks like. It's a gorgeous orangey brown. Very, very nice color. Mixes really well. Then we've got Jet Black, which is, it says PBK1 Aniline Black. I'm not very familiar with that, but it's got a light fastness rating of 3. That had a light fastness rating of 3 as well. Sorry, I don't think I showed you that. And then we've got Titanium White PW6, and that's got a light fastness rating of 3. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the assortment. If I use some up, I can get them up in stock. I'm really happy about that. I really liked working with these. As far as just the experience of painting with these, especially mixed media, I really enjoyed these. So let's grab the swatches again. Oh, and I'll show you here in the palette, because I let these dry and then I wet them again. I did another painting. There's a lot of cracking and crumbling, which is kind of to be expected with gouache. I didn't put out a ton because this palette, my idea for this palette, and I kind of put it all on one side because I did and you can find the video on my YouTube channel. It's a demo of a frog, and it's a real-time and critique club. But so I had everything just over here so I could keep it on screen and not have to zoom way out. But my what I plan on doing is kind of setting this up like a color wheel: red, yellow, blue, and then just kind of filling in, but not putting a lot of paint down, just putting in as I need it, but I'll just top off those colors so I can just kind of keep the paint in rotation, you know, so I can use up the dregs as I'm doing my next painting. I'm not going to fill it up to the brim or anything, because honestly, a bright red is a bright red is a bright red. As long as I know that the colors agree, I'm not going to be too fussy with it. So that's my plan for this palette, but I did want to show you how they dried down, but they re-wet really well. And so I'll show you the painting. Well, first let's go to the swatches real quick. I think I applied that too thick there, that orange, because I do have a little shiny spot, but other than that, I mean, this is one of the most gorgeous finishes I've seen in a gouache. Daniel Smith, obviously, their gouache is gorgeous, their finish is gorgeous. They're also much more expensive. I don't say very expensive because I do feel like they're fairly priced, but they're more expensive than this. A 15 ml tube is more than Turner's 25 ml tube, maybe double than what Turner's 25 ml tubes are. Yeah, I think so. I think at least double. So yeah, some colors are a little bit more translucent, like that really bright fluorescent pink. This cobalt blue is a little bit transparent, and this I think it's sky blue maybe is a little bit transparent, but and the lemon yellow and the permanent yellow deep are kind of transparent. But I didn't notice any issues when painting. If I hold this to the light and bend it just right, there's kind of an eggshell finish to the white. It's not quite as matte as the other colors, but it's not shiny. It's not shiny, not like we had with our Da Vinci gouache. I'm really happy with it. And I really enjoyed painting with it. So, I mean, there's that. Let me show you the artwork that I did with that. This one I just finished. This is a mixed media piece, but I did use a lot of gouache at the end, and I was going on top of these waxy pastels, these waxy water-soluble pastels. The colors were really easy to work with, really easy to get nice sharp details. It didn't buckle the paper. This is reactivated paint too. This is reactivated paint on there. It was just intuitive. I didn't feel like I had to learn how to. Sometimes when you use a different brand of something or you use a new product, it's like you got to learn all over again. It's not like you're starting from beginner, but it's like maybe you were an expert, but you're going to start at intermediate level with this new product. You know, you go back a few steps to kind of get up to speed with a new brand of paint. I did not feel that with this. I felt like it was very easy to use. And then this one here I did the frog. This is all Turner gouache. It was very, very intuitive. I got a little too thick here on the flower, so I think that might crack because I really went way too thick. But just showing you with that white, how thick I went, it's not shiny. It's not shiny. But I think if I bent this paper, I could definitely flake off some of that paint because that's me, not it. But I started off with wet, watery washes, not a problem. I mean, this paper wanted to wrinkle a little bit because it's a little thin. But this was a joy. This was a joy to paint with. And to contrast, I had used one of the Hemi gouaches, and I've got cracking. It was a drag to use, but this was a joy to use. So maybe I'm rating this a little bit higher than I normally would, because the last gouache I used was the Hemi gouache, but this is just so much pleasure to use, so much fun. I really, really enjoyed it. And it's priced well. So, you can, I'll link up to the listing that I bought from, because it is about half the price at Amazon versus Jerry's, but they also have that little trial set. I'll see if they have that little trial set at Amazon really quick, and maybe they do, and maybe it's even cheaper. I think that Jerry's often will sell their stuff on Amazon to kind of turn over their stock a bit. They do have quite a few little sets on Amazon, but I'm not seeing the little trial gouache set. The thing you do want to keep in mind though with this is that they also have acrylic gouache, and it's called acryl gouache, and that's basically a matte acrylic paint, which I've used and I do like, but it won't be the same kind here. You wouldn't be able to put it in a palette and then like re-wet it when you're done. You want the design gouache for that. So yeah, I guess this set is great. I think it's probably your best bang for your buck, but if you're not so sure about some of those pigments, or you know there's like, you're like, I'm not going to use half those colors, Lindsay, then I would say go to Jerry's Artorama and go pick out the tubes that you want. Maybe wait for a better sale, because right now they have them on sale, but then sometimes they do super sales, and that's when is a great time to pick up products, especially ones by Turner, Lucas, Charvin, brands that they kind of have exclusive rights to, because they have more flexibility with their pricing on those. But yeah, I am really happy with this. I'm glad I bought it, and I can't wait to paint with them some more. So I want to thank you so much for watching this review. I'm sorry it took me so long to get it together, but I think I bit off a little more than I could chew when I was buying products to review during last Black Friday sale. I think this is probably the last, this might be the last gouache that I had to review. I'll have to go back and look through all of them and kind of put them in a ranking order. But for price, for the price and the quality, these are right up there. I also think the Shinhans are pretty good too, as far as price and quality. Those two are probably my top picks as far as value, and they're both Asian brands, so maybe that's why they're less expensive. But happy with both of them. As far as comparing them with Holbein, I've only used my set of 5 Holbein colors, and I really like those too. So, you know, I'm going to have to really swatch them out side by side to do the ranking on these. But, hey, I have no complaints. I have no complaints. My only consideration would be if you want to pan them, like if you want to squeeze out the gouache and let them dry. I don't know if these would be the best ones for it, because they tend to crack a little bit. I think Daniel Smith is probably going to be a better bet, or Da Vinci for that use. And if you absolutely need light fast colors, I still think the brand is worth getting, but I think you want to go cherry pick the colors that you want to use. But you really can't beat the value. I don't know if the plastic tubes will make them last longer or last less long, but there was minimal binder separation, so I'm really happy with these. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments. If I can help you, I will. But yeah, it's nice. I'm happy to be when I'm pleasantly surprised with a product that is a value. But I wouldn't call this a budget supply, because this company has been around for a long time. I actually like their watercolors. Some people do, some people don't. I think, again, with their watercolors, it's kind of a cherry pick type situation to get the best colors, because they're not all awesome, but the ones that are good are really good. The ones that are good are as good as other brands' watercolors, but the ones that aren't kind of aren't. It's a little bit more of a crapshoot, but I like the gouache. I like it. I'm happy with it. I want to thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed these long, in-depth tutorials. And till next time, happy crafting. And you'll be able to find videos on this. I have a tutorial for that and for that on my YouTube channel, so go check those out if you want to see them in action. Okay, happy crafting. Bye.